Hey, comrades, what's up? We're here for Fairy Tale volume number 17. And as you remember from volume 16, everyone was beat the shit out of, and Dude Meister recognized Wendy. So we head right back there. So all the Ordu Sace are looking over at Wendy, and the leader guy is like, "Let me get you," and he grabs her up, and then Happy gets caught up too, and they all kind of like piece the fuck out of there. And then the guy who wishes only for wealth blasts everybody, and then the main guy, he casts some sort of like dark evil spirit thing on everybody as they're like crashed down there. And the only one who's really up to do anything is Natsu. But right before any of that happens, Earth guy shows up, Jura-sama, and he rolls up. He's bald now. He's alive, and he casts like an earth defense to protect everybody. And everyone's like, "Wow, you're doing great." And he's like, "I'm doing pretty bad." And we see that he's like all bashed up. And then Ichura, Sensei, sorry, he casts some like pain relieving perfume on everybody, so they all heal up nice and well. Natsu's then like, "It's time to go. We got to go rescue Happy, and we got to rescue Wendy and Happy." And then Clara kind of stops him, and everyone's doing great except for Urza, because Urza has an issue with the fact that she was poisoned by that snake, and the poison's still coursing through her veins. So the pain relieving thing hasn't done anything about it. At that point, she takes Lucy's belt, so she drops her pants. We don't see anything, of course, because this is a manga for teenagers, but she kind of what do you call it? She puts like a tourniquet essentially on her arm so the poison doesn't keep spreading. And then she throws the sword down and is like, "Cut off my arm." And so Leon's about to do that when Grace stops him. He's like, "No, there's got to be another way." And Clara reveals that Wendy has healing magic, which is like it's not a forbidden magic, but it's like a forgotten magic. So it's like very impressive that she has healing magic, because like nobody has that. And also she's the Sky Dragon Slayer. And so everyone agrees like, "Okay, we got to go rescue Wendy so we can save Urza," and everyone wins. And then we switch over to Wendy, who got thrown. She's like thrown into like this cage by Orisian Sace, and then they're all talking about Nirvana and how why do we have this girl? And the main guy reveals that they can use her to resurrect him, and they're like, "Oh, resurrect him." And then he sends the racer guy off, who's super fast, to get him so they can bring him back, and so he can help them get Nirvana. And then Wendy asks like, what is this Nirvana? What are you talking about? And he reveals that it takes darkness and light and reverses them. Everyone kind of catches up to like this little area where Orisian Sane's like hiding out, and so Lucy's watching over Urza with Poon, or whatever, her celestial creature. And then one of the guys, the handsome guys from the Pegasus Blue, he's got some sort of like computer magic where he's tracking everybody and setting out communication and whatnot. Meanwhile, everyone else splits up to kind of like see what's going on, see if they can find Wendy. So Natsu, Gray, and Clara go to rescue. They're together, and Natsu and Clara start talking about how Wendy, as a air dragon slayer, she eats air to get her powers. She's got the healing magic, and that the part of the reason they wanted to join this expedition was to meet up with Natsu, because she has questions, because her dragon was also disappeared 7 years ago, just like Jeeleel's and just like Natsu's, just like Ignil. And at that point, they're running along, and they notice that part of the forest is turned all black, and then they hear some noises, and it's that mummy. It's what do you call them? The ones who kind of were involved that Lucy took care of before. Naked Mummy. It's a naked mummy group. And so then Natsu and Grey get ready to beat the shit out of him, and Clara is like very concerned. Also, the other groups that are kind of split up. So Jura, Leon, and what's her name? The lady, who are all from like Blue Pegasus. Wait, they're Blue Pegasus. They're from one of the guilds. They run into a group of guys, and then the guys who are from like the sexy, like Ichura-sama's group, they meet up with another guys, so they all start fighting. Meanwhile, Racer brings back this giant like cross coffin that has chains all over it, and so they bust it open, and it's dun dun dun, it's Jeleel. And so I guess he's still kind of, he's dead, but he's like in this casket for some reason. Or Jalal, I apologize. And Happy's like, holy shit! And then the bad guy mentions that Wendy knows Jeleel because she's definitely going to bring him back to life because he like saved her life at some point. Meanwhile, we get some shonen anime just beating the shit out of goons with Natsu and Gray, and they're like having a great time. Back over at Wendy, they have a whole conversation about that and what they're gonna do. And then the bad guy like stabs Kajil, and she like freaks the fuck out. And she's like, I can't, but I have to. Oh, I loved him. Something, something. And Happy's like, oh, what's going on? And then he's like, Natsu, please come quickly, because Wendy's about to resurrect Kajil. After Naked Mummy's defeated, Natsu and Gray are a little put out, but they totally did it. And then Claire's like, I can't believe you took out a whole guild. So the Natsu and Gray start beating up dudes, asking them about where they need to go to rescue Wendy. The other groups also beat the shit out of the guilds they were involved with as well. And Ichiyama-sama is like off on his own, and he's being carried off. Like he did shit all apparently. So there's like a guild that has him, and we don't see him for the rest of the volume. Meanwhile, Natsu and Clara have gotten to where Wendy is, and Racer is ordered to go fight off Gray and Natsu so that this guy can get Wendy to resurrect Jill so they can find Nirvana and activate Nirvana. So then we get some shonen anime battle with Racer and Natsu and Gray for very short, and then Gray is starts fighting Racer on his own so Natsu can like head off to get Wendy. So he jumps down in this little area, and he sees like the big coffin, and then Wendy like apologizes because she's already resurrected Gajil, and she talks about how he saved her life, and then she passes out because whenever she uses curing magic, it drains like it takes a lot of energy. And Natsu flips out and so charges Gajil, and Gajil just like blasts the shit out of him. Gajiljan looks over at like the big boss bad guy here from Maurice Insane, creates like a hole in the ground and like collapses him into it. Meanwhile, Midnight, one of the other characters from Maurice Insane, is just laying there asleep. So Gajil like looks at him and then walks off, doesn't say anything to anybody. So the Natsu's super pissed off and wants to go after him, but then Clara reminds him that he has to take Wendy over to Urza so she can be safe. So they head out there, and then the bad guy like climbs his way out of this like pit, and he's super pissed off, and he's like, Gajil's gonna get Nirvana for himself. I will not permit it. It belongs to us. It belongs to Arisi and Safe. And so then he uses some sort of like telepathy to contact Cobra. What was that guy's name? Yeah, the guy with the snakes, and tells him to follow Gajil so he can get Nirvana if he needs it. Meanwhile, Racer and Gray now have their big battle. It just goes bam, 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 bam. We switch back to Natsu to see them like flying away. At some point, Racer knocks Natsu and Wendy out of the sky, and then everyone's unconscious, like Happy and Claire and Wendy. So Natsu has to grab him to run, and then Gray keeps fighting him, stops him, and then really gets like after it. So Gray's like the only person who have ever like stopped him from moving because he moves super fast or whatever, and then he like taunts him a little bit, and then it's time to fight. Meanwhile, Gajil, who was like naked before, got beat up some rando and stole his clothes, and he's moving somewhere. Natsu's in contact with the guy who's with Lucy and Urza, and he's giving him like a map in his brain so he can find them really quick. And then we go back over to Gray and Racer, and this is where we really get like the big shonen battle here, like back and forth. The Racer summons a bunch of like speed bikes. Gray gets on one. They fight some more. They run into like Leon, and I think her name is Sheena. And then Gray like pulls Leon onto one of the bikes with him, and they chase after him, and they're fighting. And then Leon is using like his ice maker magic to send like birds and shit to like blow up some of the bikes, while Gray rides the bikes, and then they like combine forces, and they're like bam, bam, bam. But still, the Racer guy's pretty good, so he's still holding his own against them. And eventually, Leon admits, or he states that he has figured out the weakness of the sky. And so he whispers to Gray, and then he casts like an ice maker spell on Gray and sends him like really high up into the air. And the guy's like, oh, you're going to betray your friends? Like, I don't care. I don't give a fuck about that guy. He's my rival. So now Leon and Sheena are going to start fighting this guy, and they do their like summoning stuff and fighting and ice magic and beat, and Leon keeps moving further and further away from Gray. And you may say like that's a little odd, but it's not, because it's a very, very specific reason. Because at some point, Leon is down on the ground, and the Racer guy's got like a knife to his throat, and he's like, "I'm gonna kill you before you can do anything." And then he's like, "Hey, there's something funny about your magic." And he starts talking about the birds and noticing the birds were moving faster as well. And then he states that his Racer's magic is not actually to speed him up; it's to slow everyone else down around him. And that there's like a certain distance he had to go, and then he won't be able to move because he doesn't actually move fast, so that person can get him before he can move. which is interesting, right? Because it seems contradictory to like when he went to get the coffin, because he could move so fast. But I don't know, maybe just slows the whole world down. Anyway, so then we see Gray, and he's up on this like ice tower with this ice bow and arrow, and he looks right down at Racer from far away, and he fires this thing, and it fucking like massacres this dude, knocking him far away. Gray then catch ups with Leon and Sheena and like chats with them for a little bit, and the guy's like, "It hasn't over yet." And then he opens up like his jacket. He's got like a suicide vest, and he's running at the guys. And then Leon leaps on him, grabbing him and rolling away. And there's just like a huge explosion. And then like the boss guy gets like a headache, and he's like, "Oh no, Racer's dead!" And he like stumbles. And he's like, "I took these people too lightly." So then he like, kicks Midnight and is like, "Wake up!" And then Midnight's like, "Yes, father." Dun dun dun. Cool. So they're related. Where are we at here? All right, then Sheena's like super like put out that Leon is dead. Like she's like crying, and Gray's pretty put out too. And then we see Jura, and he runs into the gold face guy who like everything's what's his name? Hote. Here we go. And he's all about riches and whatnot. And so they kind of start going back and forth and fighting. And then finally Natsu gets Wendy to where Urza is, and he kind of like shakes her awake and begs that she heal Urza. And she's like, "Oh yeah, I can heal her. That's totally fine." And so she does that. And then we switch over to Jeleel, and he walks up to this tree, and the Cobra guy's like fighting behind him, and he like blasts the shit out of this tree, destroying like all the things around it, and then it's like one of the pillars of Nirvana. So back over, Urza's cured, and things are doing well, and then Natsu gives high fives to everyone. They're all having a good time, and then he's like, "All right, I gotta go fight this Nirvana thing." And then we see this like bright light, and this like black pillar rise from the ground, and it's like, "Oh no, this Kajil," and this this huge explosion and whatnot. And then everyone's like looking up into the sky and seeing this like all the different like Cobra and the Midnight and his dad and Ichiyama-sama, and then the girl Orisi Insane, Angel I think is her name, and Jura-sama, and everybody's seeing this thing. And then Natsu's like, "I gotta get Jeleel, and I gotta stop Urza from running into him, and I gotta protect her," and he runs off. And then we see the two guys who are left from like the Pretty Boy Guild, and they're looking at like black trees, and they're like, "Ruh-roh." Then over to Gray, we see Sheena is starting to look real crazy, and then the rich guy who loves riches is like laughing. And then going back to Lucy, we see that Urza has like disappeared. And then Wendy starts like freaking the fuck out, and then this guy, the other guy from, I think it's Lamia Scale, because Blue Pegasus, no, that's Blue Pegasus. Lamia Scale is the one that Leon and Sheena and Jura-sama are from. Okay, so then he blasts Wendy, knocking her out. Natsu then runs into like that guild we were talking about before, and he just beats the shit out of him like instantaneously. And then the guy explains that he didn't hurt Wendy, he just like knocked her unconscious because he actually knows a bit about Nirvana, and he talks about how nobody really knows about it, but that Ichiyama-sama, am I saying is Ichiya-san told him that it turns light into darkness, right? It's like that people who are highly emotional will switch to like, if they're a good guy, they'll turn into a bad guy, and vice versa. And that's just the first pillar. Like when all of Nirvana comes, it turns all light into darkness. So because Wendy started like kind of freaking out, he couldn't trust that she was gonna like not switch sides. And then we flip over to Sheena, and we see that she is like switched sides to being like a bad guy, and she attacks Gray and like knocks him out. But on the flip side, the guy who loves riches decides he has a change as well. Like now he wants to join the good guys and not be an Orisi and Sace, and he doesn't want war, and he wants to be happy, and money doesn't matter as much. And so Jura-sama was like, "The fuck." We then see Midnight beating the shit out of one of the Blue Pegasus guys as well, leaving him alive though. So then Lucy asks more questions about what's going on and about rage, and like Natsu should be okay even though he's super pissed off because his rage is for someone else, not for himself. So it's not like there's like some sort of weird magic about that. Natsu then sees Gray lying in the water and goes to like help him pull him up, but it's a trap, and now he's on like a boat on the water, and so now he gets really sick, and then he's about to be stabbed to death by Gray, it looks like, who might have also gone bad. But then Lucy summons Sagittarius and like blasts the spirit out of his hands. At that point, right, so Gray freezes, happy when he leaps at him, and then he goes to attack Lucy, but then the Blue Pegasus guy like blocks the attack. After we see the Lucy being saved, then we see the Gray transform into Lucy. Oh my goodness, what's going on? And then she takes her shirt off. Yes! Well, it's the best panel in comics. We just get side boob, but still, it's Lucy topless with side boob. And Lucy, the real Lucy's like freaking out, and then Sagittarius, who's there, along with the Blue Pegasus guy, are like, "Holy shit, this is amazing." And then we hear somebody take over Sagittarius, and he shoots the handsome guy in the back. And Lucy's like, "What the fuck?" how are you doing that? And it's it's like the clone Lucy. And then so Lucy closes the gate, and then the other girl, the fake Lucy, like opens the gate again for Sagittarius, and then she goes to close the gate again. And then we see Angel. Angel is the bad guy, Racy Insane, or Sace, and she is also a celestial spirit summoner lady. And this person that's copying people is Gemini. That's their whole deal is Gemini. And so then Lucy and her are about to have like a celestial wizard off. But so Lucy summons her most powerful spirit, Aquarius, and Aquarius goes to like blast everybody, and then Angel summons Scorpion, and Scorpio, who's Scorpion, and Scorpio is Aquarius's boyfriend. So then they like hug it out and give little smooches, and then they like wander off. And Lucy's like, what the fuck? And then she gets like slapped into the water, and when she comes out, she summons Leon and Leo, and it's like, oh ho ho, what are you gonna do about this? And then the angel lady summons dun 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 Ares. That's right, the white ram, Ares, the one he protected from that other lady that got him like almost killed, and he got stuck in like the human form forever. And then Lucy's like, oh shit, Loki can't fight that guy. Dun dun dun. And that wraps up volume 17. So go ahead, like, share, subscribe, comment, and I will catch you guys in 2 weeks for volume 18.